This is Dave. He really enjoys going to the movies. He's always considerate to his fellow moviegoers. This fellow is disturbing everyone around him. Oh, look, Dave is shutting off his phone. Now is not the time for talking or texting. Oh, well, now look at that. There's a true movie-watching friend. Let's all be more like Dave.
This is M-Wire, Movie Week in Review. M-Wire is brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up today to get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/geekcastradio. Start today with a free 30-day trial with over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter at audible_com. And now the latest and greatest in movies with M-Wire.
He's killing me, now they're after me!
It started as a game. Now they are playing for keeps.
They're trying to kill us!
And the only person who believes in it is a legendary agent named Flack. Cloak and Dagger. Rated PG. Starts Friday at select theaters. Check newspapers for locations.
Hello and welcome to M-Wire Movie Week in Review. This is episode 119. I am your host, TFG1Mike, and coming back once again is Doug Abel from Talking About My Generation. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
What was I thinking? I think I over-romanticized my memories of the film we're going to be talking about this time around on M-Wire, because this is nothing like what I originally thought it was.
Yeah.
We're traveling we've hopped into the DeLorean. We're traveling 31 years back to the past to talk about Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
This is nothing like what I thought it was. I don't know what I thought it was, folks, but this is nothing like what I imagined. I just don't know. Wasn't there a movie in the 80s where this kid went around and somehow some alien chip or something or other infected his parents? What the hell was that?
Oh, Jesus.
That wasn't Flight of the Navigator. It wasn't. Oh, crap. I swear to God, there was a movie in the 80s where a kid, like the kid that's in here, played by Henry Thomas, went around saying, oh my God, if you get, touched by these, you're going to be infected and you're going to become this and you're going to do this and you're going to make... I have no idea, but it was some sort of chip on the back of their neck. And that's all I remember.
Oh, Puppet Masters.
Was it really Puppet Masters?
Puppet Masters was doing something like that. If it wasn't Puppet Masters, it was something very similar based on the same story.
Okay, maybe it was Puppet Master. I don't remember. But this movie, Cloak and Dagger, I thought it was more of a spy movie than what it actually is.
Yeah.
This is this is why, folks, you should never cross RPGs and video games, really, seriously. Like, okay, sure, we have RPG video games nowadays, but, like, Dungeons and Dragons, and, I'm sorry, this is the Kmart version of Tron, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
When it comes to the whole gameplay in the movie, I mean, it's...
I got to say, that was probably the coolest thing about the film was that Atari stepped in and they made a game for this film. They had stuff going on with it. That was probably the best part of it. That, and then seeing where they get the specs for the SR-71 Blackbird, which I thought was kind of cool. I was like, okay. That was kind of neat, but other than that, yeah, horrible mix.
So, it says on Wikipedia that this is a spy adventure film.
That's pushing it.
I mean, like, okay, first of all, let's just, I can't even go over the plot. I just have to talk about it in scenes, because in one of the scenes, in the beginning of the movie, the kid Davy and his friend Kim go into this office building. And he has a toy gun.
Yeah.
It looks 100% like a real gun. This isn't some kid that had, and this came out in 84, so I can make this reference. This isn't some kid that had a silver and black with a purple Decepticon logo gun in his hand. This looked like an actual pistol.
Well,
this looked like an...
and to be fair,
yeah.
At this time, they had a lot of guns, a lot of squirt guns that looked like real guns. Because I remember having one that looked like an AK-47, and it was a squirt gun. You know, you filled it up with water, and there you go.
Right, but my point here is, this is a actual gun.
Yeah,
and not to make fun of rent-a-cops, but the security guard really is just going to sit there and watch him do little spy jumps and little maneuvers throughout the fucking lobby. Are you serious? That security guard, if that was today, that security guard would have pounced on that kid in a heartbeat.
He would have been LaFours out of Mallrats, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I know ladies and gentlemen, we grew up in the 80s. I know the 80s were much different than what we are today, how the world is today. But even back then, there had to have been some sort of smart person to say, hey kid, what are you doing in the lobby of the building? It's like, no one lets kids into these places. I mean, well, unless you're Kevin McAllister, but it's one of those things where...
If you're there because you're with your parents or something. And, you know, if you're goofing around like that, they're looking at you and they're going, hey, look, maybe we need to find your parents.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to go to my dad's work all the time, and I had to stay right by his side. I couldn't go off running and jumping and whatever in some lobby. And
yeah,
this movie for me, folks, is so unbelievable. The believable part is that they stored the plans to the SR-71 on the game. Everything the kids do is so I could see doing these adventures in like the playground or in the schoolyard or like, because I'll admit it, I'm not ashamed of it. My friends and I used to play Transformers when we were in, grade school at recess. We would say, oh, I'm Optimus Prime, or oh, I'm this character or that character. And we would, go behind bushes and, duck and pretend like we're shooting at each other or whatever. So I understand that part, but I'm just saying the whole premise of him being in an office building is just so unbelievable for me.
Well, and I mean, there were a lot of things that were unbelievable in this. You had Jack Flack, which, God, I almost said Jack Black. Jack Black might have actually been better.
Oh, God. Don't applaud. They've kidnapped me. Don't applaud.
Yes.
all I can think of right now is Jack Black in Muppets.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, this was the very beginning scene where you first see Dabney Coleman coming in and playing as Jack Flack and, doing the whole spy thing when he's coming in. That, to me, was probably one of the coolest scenes.
Right.
When he lands and he does the thing where he pulls up on his lapels and all of a sudden the back opens and the parachute sucks up into his jacket. That was kind of cool, but all the spy stuff that he was doing, and then all of a sudden you see him get out of it because these two giant dice come rolling towards him, and they're like, "Oh, Jack Flack escapes." Jack Flack escapes. How? Well, he rolled 12s. He always escapes on 12. That was where it was kind of like, okay, look. And from that point forward, moving forward with him, seeing him in the role of both the father and this cavalier, dashing character I just was. I liked it when I was a kid. Looking back on it, the movie has not aged well.
No, not at all. I had to watch this damn thing twice, folks, because I fell asleep in the middle of it.
My
I got
condolences.
I got to the point where it was after they were being chased. It was after they were at the house being chased. Everybody showed up at the house. It was after the Bruce Valanche lookalike fat guy character got killed. But I remember all of that, and then I blacked out. And the next thing I remember is hearing the actual plot of the movie, which is the government contractors or the spies put the plans on the game thing. And I'm like, oh, really? It's that plot.
Yes,
Come
it is.
on.
Yeah, it was. You know, okay, here's the thing. When I first saw this, it came out. I actually saw this in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
The movie that came out with it, which was The Last Starfighter, they did it as a double feature. Last Starfighter was so much better.
Oh, yeah.
So much better than this film. I still watched it just because my parents took me, and I was kind of like, hey, I'm a kid. I want to go see a movie. Little did I know that my ass was going to be sore from sitting for 4.5 hours or whatever it was.
No, this movie did not have a longer running time than fucking Titanic. There's no way.
No, it was
101 minutes. Yeah.
Well, no,
no.
What I mean with that is sitting through Last Starfighter and this.
Okay, the double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'll admit, it sure as hell felt like I was sitting there for 4 hours through some of the stuff. When they were in the Alamo, God, that was slow.
Yeah, it was. It was about the speed of a John Wayne movie. One of those, and I'm not saying that to insult John Wayne movies, folks. I'm saying it to compare it to the old westerns. The old westerns are slow as hell.
Yeah.
No.
They were there to give you looks of the vistas, and seeing people riding across the plains. That was it. Kind of like this movie. You got looks of, you got views of the Alamo. You got views of the buildings. You got views of the runways, and yeah.
I was not that into aviation as a child, so I mean, yeah. It just didn't catch on.
The one thing that really, really bothered me about this film was probably the ending, and I don't know if I should really spoil this, but again,
go ahead. It's a 31-year-old movie. I don't care.
Yeah, and it's kind of a crappy film for this anyway. Was the scene where you see Jack Flack all of a sudden become visible to the bad guy.
Yeah, that was...
I was just like, this is hokey as hell.
Yeah. This is hokier than Hokey Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it just... And folks, you might be saying, why are we covering this if it's so bad? Like I said, I thought it was something other than what it is. I thought it was... okay, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this movie, and that's fine. But Corey Haim, I think it was it 89? I'm trying to think when that was. Corey Haim had done a movie. I had actually seen it somewhere around 93. It's called Double O Kid.
Oh,
okay?
God.
No. Hold on. It's called Double O Kid. And Double O Kid is better than this movie. Okay, if you want a spy action adventure or a spy adventure thing, yeah. I mean, yeah, it just... Was it 93 or 94? Double Switch. Yeah, The Double O Kid. He played Lance Elliott. Came out in 1992. So, Cloak and Dagger, you have this kid, Davy. Maybe he needs to go back to his locker. You got this kid, Davy, and his friend Kim. Fast forward about 8 years, you got Lance Elliott, and it really is. If you look, have you ever seen Double O Kid?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
Okay, well, Double O Kid is this movie done better. It's got Wallace Shawn in it as Cashpot the villain. It's got Bridget Nielsen in it, I believe.
Okay.
I think, yes, it does have her. She plays Rhonda, that's right. And it's pretty much the same damn thing, because the Cashpot character plays, they're working with a virus. He wants to bring down he wants to make 2 world leaders' planes crash. So, he can go on selling weapons or control the world or whatever else. And it's one of those things where you have an older agent like Jack Flack. You have an older agent named Tanner, but he's an actual real person. There's fantasy here on the part of Lance Elliott, on the part that Corey Haim plays, where he thinks he's this super spy, but he thinks he's the super spy. He's not seeing some vision of some spy hero he saw in a comic book somewhere. So, the Cloak and Dagger. Oh my God, what the hell was I thinking?
You were thinking it was going to be better than it was. You thought it was something, a flashback from the 80s that might have been good.
This is a thing of the 80s that should never ever be seen again.
Yeah. It has its place. Its place is in the film vaults. Leave it there. Probably the best part of it was that they managed to get, this child actor who had just hit it big with E.T., I think that was probably the best thing about this.
Yeah.
Henry Thomas showed up there, and then he comes into this, and he's carrying on this E.T. energy, and he was basically the same kid. Almost identically dressed. And I was kind of like, I remember seeing this, and I was kind of confused. I'm going, why is Elliot in this film?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. It's just so crazy. So let's get into the cast. Henry Thomas. Most people will know him as Elliot from E.T. Since then, he hasn't done much, honestly.
Yeah.
I believe he peaked in the 90s. He was in Cloak and Dagger. He was in Psycho 4, The Beginning, TV movie in 1990. He was in Legends of the Fall is probably his most famous thing after E.T. He was in something called Hijacking Hollywood in 97. He was in a Moby Dick TV series. He was on 11-14 in 2003. He hasn't done anything. Well, he's still doing stuff. He's more recently he did The Last Ride in 2012, Big Sur in 2013. He was on the TV series Betrayal for a year, and right now he's got the TV miniseries that's in post-production called Sons of Liberty. So he's been going strong and had work over the last 31 years, but just no.
Yeah, it's... I don't care for him all that much. It's the stuff that he's doing, I could move on,
Yeah. So moving on to Dabney Coleman. This guy, we'll be here all night going through his filmography. This man has had stuff since the 60s. So we're not going to go through it all. I will say that he was in the original Fugitive TV series as Officer George Graham. and a couple other characters. His debut was something called Naked City in 1961. What I remember him from is a little-known film called Short Time.
Oh, God. Yes.
And originally I thought he was on Evening Shade, but it turns out that's it's Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. I remember him. He played a small role in Dragnet with Tom Hanks and oh God, Dan Aykroyd. He was supposed to be like the mayor or the owner of Bait magazine, which is supposed to be like Playmate or something.
Yeah.
That, and then I know I've seen him with like something else where he was just absolutely goofy. And
that would be the better film that he did in 1984, which is The Muppets Take Manhattan.
I don't remember him in that, but I'll take your word for it.
He was Slap Maxwell in the Slap Maxwell story from 87 to 88. Drexel's Class from 91 to 92. Madman of the People from 94 to 95.
I'm waiting for you to see 1999.
Yeah, I see it. He was Chief Quimby in Inspector Gadget, and he's also the voice of Principal Peter Prickly in Recess from 1997 to 99.
I'll give him that.
Awesome. That's kind of awesome. He more recently, not a lot of stuff. He was on Boardwalk Empire from 2010 to 2011, but he hasn't really done anything since 2011.
Well, he was looking pretty old in Boardwalk Empire. He played a great role, but it's kind of like, he's on the downhill side of his life. You can kind of tell from that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the man is 83 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to say this negatively, folks. It's just going to come out that way. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw him in the news in the next couple of... it's one of those things where...
Yeah.
You see all these actors and stuff in the news, and it's like, oh, dang. Yeah. There really isn't, unless you can find one here, there really isn't any other cast members that are... Okay, William Forsythe as Morris, but, I mean, he was credited as Bill Forsythe, but, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but this film was really, like, no-name casting.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Henry Thomas and Dabney Coleman.
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't much. I mean, I keep looking like Christina Nigra. I keep wanting to say that she was in other things, but nothing that we would know other than
The Sword and the Sorcerer from 82, Twilight Zone, the movie from 83.
Okay, I know where I've seen her. She was Evie's friend Lindsay on Out of This World.
Yep, and she was also Danielle on Harry and the Hendersons, but she hasn't done anything since 92.
No.
Harry and the Hendersons was the last thing she's got credited with. Well, she was on Mr. Belvedere, so there's that. General Hospital.
I keep wondering if, like, when you see this sort of thing happening, you're kind of thinking, are you, has she passed away or something?
No, she
Obviously,
has not
she's
passed
not,
away.
But...
It would have stayed here on IMDb if she had.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the cast. I mean, John McIntyre. The only McIntyre I know is Joey McIntyre. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Because he's hanging tough, right?
You had to make that reference. You had to go there.
Of course. And John McIntyre actually passed away in 1991. Other credits that he had done, he was Amos Reed in Turner and Hooch was his last role. He was in St. Elsewhere for an episode or two. He was on The Love Boat. He was on Different Strokes. That's where we've seen Dabney Coleman. He was on Different Strokes for a while.
That's right.
That's right. So yeah, I really can't recommend this film, folks. I just can't.
It's one of those things, like I said, leave it in the past. You'll have better memories from what you remember of the film than of going back and trying to watch it again. It's It's an okay movie. I mean, I've seen worse.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not something I would spend another 2 hours to sit down and try and watch because it's hard to get through.
Yeah. Got a little bit of trivia here. The elderly couple in the film, John McIntyre and Jeanette Nolan, were actually married in real life for approximately 56 years until his death.
Wow.
In the USA, the movie was launched in a limited release in a double bill with The Last Starfighter, like you said, on July 13th, 1984. But a month later, on August 10th, Cloak and Dagger then reopened separately for its own season. They opened this movie twice. Wow.
Yeah.
This is interesting. You live out there, so I'm sure you know all about this. The Gamekeeper is an actual shop located in the Glendale Galleria in Glendale, California, a few miles from Universal Studios. The shop originally specialized in sophisticated role-playing games such as the popular Dungeons & Dragons series. Since the time of the film, it has relocated to a smaller store space within the mall and sells mainly mainstream board games. There are now also several franchise locations at other malls around the country.
Yeah, we'll see how much longer it lasts.
I mean, if GameStop can't keep customers, how can this...
Well, I will say that I think that board games are making a resurgence just because of things like tabletop being out there.
Yep.
But it's not. People are turning to Amazon. I mean, when you see that Toys R Us, which bought the storefront from FAO Schwartz for Times Square, they're pulling out. Games, game shops like the Gamekeeper they're going to be right behind them. I hate to say that.
Right. Yeah. Let's see here. Apparently, Coleman did not get along with the director at all.
That's not a surprise. I've heard that he's hard to work with.
The only ever children's or family audience picture directed by Richard Franklin. I gotta see what this guy has done because this is not Psycho. Psycho and its sequels. He did Patrick in '78. He passed away in 2007. So the last few things he did was the Lost World TV series.
Yeah.
Oh, he did. He did do two films or at least one of the two films that I really do like. He was a director on Homicide, and he did FX2, so there is that.
Okay.
He did the Beauty and the Beast TV series for one episode. That's something I don't think I ever want to revisit.
No, don't ever drag me into that one, please.
All right, folks. I know we've kind of bashed this movie a little bit, and I think our reasoning is very well founded. The plot makes zero sense. Some of the actions that the kid takes, it's just so unbelievably dumb. You just can't imagine this is an 80s movie. I'm so glad there was never a sequel to this.
Oh, God.
I don't know how they could make a sequel to this.
Oh, they'd have it with some other kid doing the same sort of thing with, somebody new. Maybe they would bring back Jack Flack as the imaginary character. I don't know. I could see it happening, but God, no.
Oh my God, it's so hilarious. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, come back with final thoughts and ratings after this.
Now for a behind-the-scenes look at Geekcast Radio Network's newest show, Talking in Circles.
So, Chuck, Greg, what are you guys thinking for this week's show?
Well, Dan, how about we just talk about the things that we've read or watched this week?
We do reviews like that every week, Chuck. How about a game like Fact or Fiction or The Power of Names?
Those are great, and we're always coming up with new ideas for games. And how about some top fives? You know how I love my top fives.
What about tournament-style brackets, or sequel, reboot, and destroy, who will win in a fight, taking too far, crazy but true news, or...
Yes, it appears we have lots of things to work on.
Listen to Talking in Circles, taking timeless topics in new directions, every Tuesday on iTunes or geekcastradio.com, the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hey, Dan, who's the guy with the creepy voice?
Remote Control is the new TV podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network. We'll be covering TV shows and topics from the year 2000 to whenever now is. We'll have special themed episodes entitled Pilot and Season Premieres, as well as finishing finales. We'll also have Season Pass episodes, where we take a look at an entire season of a TV show. Remote Control can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and www.geekcastradio.com, so tune in, because we are all remote controlled.
It's Showtime Synergy. The latest review podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network is here. So join TFG1Mike, Nicole Hailstorm, and myself, Lady Rec, as we will be reviewing all 65 episodes of Joe and the Holograms in a 25-episode-long podcast. You can find Showtime Synergy on iTunes and geekcastradio.com. We are the truly outrageous podcast that you want to be listening to.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us this time around. I gotta say, like I've already mentioned, Double O Kid is a better movie than this. Hell, even Short Time was a better movie than this. And if they did do the sequel to this, since Dabney is so old, oh no, they couldn't even do that. I was gonna say, they could get the leader. They could get good old Matt Frewer. But looking at Matt's IMDb photo, he kind of looks like a balding, bearded John Malkovich, honestly. Good old Max Headroom.
Oh man, you know who I could see doing it if they were to do a sequel. It's probably really bad of me to say this, but I could see them having Rob Lowe playing as it. Couldn't you? I mean, just like straight out of those DirecTV commercials.
I was gonna say that. Wait, is this DirecTV Rob Lowe or is this cable Rob Lowe that you could see doing this?
Exactly. I mean, either one.
Oh my god, that's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really ought to end this podcast with a DirecTV commercial. Oh god. 0 to 5 stars, sir. What are you going to give Cloak and Dagger?
Okay, only because my memories were better of it when I was a kid. I'm going to give it a 2.5. I liked it when I was a kid. That's about the best I can say for it.
Yeah, it's not at all what I remember watching as a kid. I don't know what the hell I was thinking of, but for me, the only reason why I'm even giving it this is because of the fact that I did like Dabney Coleman's performance as the spy.
Oh yeah,
when he was doing all his spy stuff, I'm going to give it a 1.5 stars. I can't give it anything higher than that and still respect myself in the morning.
Well, I rate myself a little bit better. Sorry.
Well, that kind of calls back to last week's episode. I'm going to call you or else I'll never be able to respect myself in the morning.
Yeah.
All right, folks. What's going on with Talking About My Generation, sir?
We've actually got quite a bit coming up. We're getting close. I've got Lost Boys episode that I just did. We are going to be coming out with Tron, and we are working on our 100th episode, which I'm going to give you a little hint. We're actually going to be airing it on May the 4th as a special airing. So, May the 4th.
I thought the hint was going to be pew, pew, pew.
Pew, 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 yes. Who shot first? May the 4th.
Oh, if that doesn't give it away.
Yeah. May the 4th be with you, folks. There we go. All
right, thank you for joining us here on MWire. There are several ways you can contact with us or leave feedback for the show. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com. You can comment on this and all of our other episode posts. You can leave the show's feedback on iTunes. Please do this. You can send us email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can call our voicemail line. There is a 5-minute time limit. Be sure to leave your name. It's 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Movie Week in Review, and hope you'll join us next time when we are gonna get expendable, folks. Because in episode 120 of Movie Week in Review, we're gonna be talking about the Expendables franchise. So for now, I am TFG1Mike with
Doug Abel.
Keep those film reels rolling, and we will catch you next time.
You've just listened to Movie Week in Review on GeekCastRadio.com. If you would like to leave feedback on the show, there are many ways to do so. First, you can visit the website, GeekCastRadio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. Be sure to rate our show on iTunes and leave us feedback. You can follow us on Twitter at GCRNMwire. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. Call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.
In a world, there, I said it, happy